Alrighty, folks. I don't know about you, but this is one of the weekly sessions that I look forward to. It's where Millennial Mike takes several hours of his day to go back and look through the comments. And we haven't done this for a while, so he's gonna have lots to choose from. What do you got, big guy?
Yeah, so you know what I've noticed? There's been a growing trend of the spicy comments on your videos lately. So what the purpose of this segment is to make sure that the people in the comment section who leave well thought out comments or angry comments get an opportunity to be heard and addressed by you. You don't always get the opportunity to give a full response to what people leave as a comment. And I specifically prioritize angry people because I think they're just the most interesting. And you know what? As I was mentioning, there's been a little bit of an uptick in people who seem to be a little hot and bothered about this whole crashing real estate market. So we have a bunch of questions centered around that. But the first thing we're going to do is this question is from Sierra Ennis 7617. And she's talking about what can Gen Z and millennials do to get started investing because it's tricky. So she says, can you share any resources or videos that may discuss issues Gen Z millennials are facing and what steps and strategies they should be taking now to start preparing for financial success in the future? She's a 26-year-old with a bunch of student loan debt. She's been saving and trying to increase her discretionary income, but she's not in a position now to begin investing in real estate that hopes to be so soon. What do you think,
Yeah.
Mike?
Well, I think this is an example of why Dion is the teacher, right? When we talk about all the people around us, Dion from Dion Talk is where I would send her first. And Dion is a great example that when he made the decision to, start his journey, the first 24 months was just getting ready to get ready, which is where it sounds like Sierra, whatever the long number was, is at. And that's okay, right? I think a lot of people kind of think about real estate investing, they make the decision and then they have to buy something in 90 days. And frankly, that's not practical for most people, right? So real estate investing is a journey. I call it a 10-year journey. For some, like me, it was 15. But the first 2 years may just be getting educated, maybe structuring debt, maybe saving down payment, might be understanding what your credit rating is or credit score is. So there is a lot of things. And then what I've seen a lot of folks do is they find a way to get a little side hustle money. And I didn't even know you could do this. Dion has told me many times he played, I think it was World of Warcraft. He had his kids play it. They got all these
Yep.
electronic goodies and they sold them for like real money. And and then there's Casey, Brick by Brick Wealth, who made the decision to real estate invest and started doing crafts on Etsy. The reality is it's expensive today. Lots of people are living paycheck to paycheck. As Anna Kelly has told us repeatedly, you've got to live below your means, but sometimes you have to increase your means. So, I don't know Sierra's story in detail. I know plenty of people in their 20s with student loan debt that want to get started that feel like it's not possible. I would tell her a couple of things. One is it's absolutely possible. I wrote a book called 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires because there's umpteen million ways to get it done, and then that book has 15 stories. There's a lot of people that want to do it and could do it with side hustles. It is absolutely possible. I hate the attitude of, hey, I'm young, I've got debt, I can't do it. Bullshit. Lots of people in worse situations than you did it. Just understand it might take for 4 years, Dion had one purchase. It was a house hack. And he's financially free in like 8 years. It's okay. This thing does compound. So I would tell her to cut herself some slack, look at her her debt profile, figure out where like if you're paying 25% on credit card debt, pay that shit off because that's a 25% return. I would challenge you to think about a side hustle or changing jobs or something. There are ways to extend your income. But I would tell her there's plenty of people that got started in worse situations. So be encouraged by that. It's never easy. It's never been easy for anybody that I know to become financially free, but it is possible. So believe in yourself.
Dion and I did a live stream yesterday, and one of the things that we always love to talk about is while we're reading through the comments that are coming in, we can pick out the individual contributors leaving comments. We remember when you first joined the channel. We remember you not having any rentals. Now you have one. Now you have three. Now you have four. It really does come down to just spending the time necessary, learning the market, and then not giving up and surrounding yourself with people who are going to get you across the finish line. So, and I know your channel is filled with people leaving comments, as I read them all, about how you've helped them get rental properties over the years.
Yeah, it keeps me coming back, all the positive comments. So if I've helped you and sent you a card, leave notes below. Make sure it's even I need to have the battery recharged. So leave positive comments. I see all the spicy ones, but we can also leave positive comments. It's okay.
Well, we'll get to those spicy ones in just a minute, but another question on sort of the new investor phenomenon that maybe Sierra would like. This one comes from Kyle Dorn, longtime listener, subscriber, messages me on Facebook all the time. He says, thanks, Zoob. What are your thoughts on bringing on some new investors again? I love seeing those videos. Or maybe the three amigos talking about a bunch of mistakes they made starting out. I've had some problems over the last month. Seems like I'm always learning while making mistakes, some of which were slightly avoidable, but not all. Seem to be getting whacked over the head with completely different things all at once. So, Zuber, what are some new investor mistakes that you made? What advice would you have for Kyle?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I did respond to Kyle directly, and we're trying to schedule something so he can share with the world what he's going through. Because I think it's very important for folks. So know that hopefully is coming in the next couple of weeks. I don't think we scheduled this week because he was busy, but maybe next week. So that's that. Second, I want to remind people, I've said this so many times, and maybe I need to say it more. My first 5 years sucked. If you read my book, One Rental at a Time, my very first rental almost killed me. Right? We were almost out. Then I go out and do a cash out refi and create an alligator. Then I go out and fire 5 PMs. Right? It's the first 5 years suck. You're learning. So I've made plenty of mistakes. I've trusted the wrong people, which seems to be one thing Kyle did. I didn't double check. I didn't follow up. I didn't manage expectations. I believe bullshit stories. Yes, it's the cost of admission, man. And it does help being in a group of other people that can say, yeah, I gotcha. FYI, I remember talking to Kyle, maybe it was a year ago when he was talking about what he was doing in, I think, his third market. I'm like, dude, get your ass out there, go see this thing. And he mentioned that, that was something he should have done sooner. And I'm like, well, I kind of told you. So it's just, you just don't know what you don't know. And until you're in the game, you don't know, right? I played sports my entire life. So, going up against a pitcher who throws a mean fastball and a curve, that's tough. And you don't know until you get in there. You could practice all you want, but until you get in the game and you get that first, fastball and follow up by a curve that almost, buckles your knees, it's tough, right? So, yeah, you got to get in the game sometimes.
Well, when it comes to new investors, I used to be the resident expert on being the new guy. But here's the thing, at least for those of you who maybe haven't seen me on Mike's channel before, I was his second ever interview. I interviewed with him a couple of days after I closed on my very first house hack in 2018. As of last week, I just hit my 5-year anniversary of investing in real estate. 5 years. And in the policing world, I'm a police officer. You're a rookie for the first 5 years. After year 5, you're considered a seasoned veteran, or at least not a rookie anymore. Anyways, I have gone from broke to millionaire, 0 to 15 rental units in that 5-year period. And I think Kyle's right.
Hold on. In 5 years, you've gone from 0, right? Yeah. I remember the picture of you in that key. You look like you were 16 years old.
Thank you.
And you're now a millionaire?
Yes, sir.
You just let that slide by. It's like, oh, I'm a millionaire now.
But I mean, right? When I'm sitting in here next to you, just getting outshined, I mean, no big deal or anything.
I'm not saying anything. That's awesome. Congratulations.
I don't have a book yet.
we can work on that.
The moral of the story that I was trying as I was sitting here just apparently praising myself shamelessly. The moral of the story is I think it's very, very important to always try to keep people coming and telling their stories who are closer to the starting point.
I
Because
agree.
my starting point was different than your starting point, which was different than the Lumberjacks or Dion's. We all started in different years, which had different problems. And there's people starting in 2023 and now 2024. Keeping those new people coming on, like Kyle, to share their stories is important. So I'll be looking forward to that video.
You know what, folks? If you are new and let's say you're under 5 years, let's say under 3 years, and you have to be open to sharing your story. Reach out to me below or reach out to Mike. We'll get some stuff scheduled. I would love nothing more. I would love nothing more than record 10 unique stories. It would be awesome. If we could do more than that, all the better. So leave comments below. Let us know your game.
Sweet. Yeah. Reach out to Mike on Instagram, or if you contact me, I'll put you in contact with Mike. All right. It's time for some spicy questions. We have a lot. There's some people who are pretty upset down in the comments. So believe it or not, people, this may come as a surprise, still think you're wrong about the housing crash. So Chris Putnam, 5139 says, crap is about to hit the fan when the Redfin CEO, the bull of all bulls, is saying that it's likely homes lose value next year. I get it, though. Zuber has to talk his book. So what do you think about what the Redfin CEO has been saying, Zuber?
Two things. I want to go to his last comment first, just to remind the idiots of the world. If I was talking my book, I would ask for a crash. I don't benefit from prices up here. I can't buy just like you. All my debt's fixed. All my stuff cash flows. So I give a rat's ass if the prices come down. So I would love a crash. If I wanted to grow a YouTube channel, I should talk. It's just not what I see. I have enough, and I just tell you what I see. So let's get that out of the way. I am not talking about. I buy less when prices are high. I don't know why people don't get that. They're just idiots, I guess. Now, second, let's talk about the Redfin CEO because I've called him out on my channel a couple of times. About 6 weeks ago, he came out and said, we are at the bottom. To which I said, you're wrong. We're going to 3.8 million. And we went to 3.79. Okay. Second, I have been talking about a transaction crash for longer than anybody else and have been right. Let's just call it what it is. Third, I have told you that based on the data in the 53-year spreadsheet, which I give away for free, it is very obvious that you can have a transaction crash without a price crash. And that blows people's minds. They don't get, you're going to sell 2.2 million less homes and prices aren't going to crash? Yes, that's exactly what I said and exactly what happened. I was right. Now let's talk about Redfin CEO because I saw the article that this young man or young woman is talking about. The Redfin CEO, Glenn, now says home prices are going to fall 2% next year.
What a crash.
That many. I do think he is wrong because I think they will be flat. But hey, if they crash 2% and Glenn is right, so be it. I deem a crash is 20%. If you want to call a crash 2%, you do you. I'm not playing.
They used to just call that seasonal adjustments.
Yeah.
Apparently not anymore.
Apparently you were so desperate for prices to go down that 2% is now a crash. So, all right, so be it.
Oh man. All right. Well, sticking on topic, we have Jared Rose, 9228 says, I love it. New housing prices dropped by 18% year over year. No problem. The houses are 100 square foot smaller, but yet Zuber neglects to mention the additional unreported concessions. Housing inventory is still going up into December. Just don't mention it. I will say it is important to look at how housing bulls spin things, and even more importantly, topics that they ignore. Last year, when prices were decreasing at an alarming rate, he never even broached the subject whatsoever. Did you miss the alarmingly low correction in prices last year, Zuber?
No, man, I love having receipts. You can go back and watch my videos from, I think it was November and December and January, where I was having people on the channel talking about losing six figures and all of these things. So no, I don't ignore things. Second, I think it is hilarious. I mean, like legitimately hilarious that people think I'm a housing bull. I have called housing flat for 3 to 5 years. I have called transactions below 4.5 million. I don't think I'm a housing bull at all. But just because I don't want to jump on the bandwagon of a 20% crash, I'm a bull, which is just complete nonsense. Just so that's that. Second, let's talk about new homes. New home sales falling 18%. Go look at Reventure Consulting. He created a huge video about it, like it's the end of the world. It's not. New home sales are different than existing home sales because builders can change the mix. Go and look at the mix of what was sold this year versus last year. It's smaller. In fact, a lot of sales have gone from single family homes to townhomes and condos. Mm-hmm. So we are seeing an inventory mix. But yes, when you look at the totality of the numbers, it's down 18%. But that really means nothing. It means it's a product mix thing. What else did he talk about? Oh, inventory. He's absolutely right. Inventory was going up into the end of November. It has now rolled over. Inventory fell 10,000 last week. I look every week, so it's not like I don't see these numbers. I have talked about it on my channel. On the daily financial news for the last 3 or 4 weeks, I have talked about, usually on Monday, about, wow, inventory is still up. And oh, by the way, new inventory was up 7% last week. That's where the crash bros stop. Yep. I talk about everything else, which is jackass clearly doesn't understand. Active inventory down 6% year on year. So, okay, yeah, new listings up, active inventory, total inventory down. I then remind people, I have receipts from last year. What happened last year in November? The world stopped. So what we have is an easy compare. If we listed 3 new homes last year and we listed 4 new homes this year, it went up 25%. That's just the law of small numbers. The housing market in the winter, which is the months we are in, is very seasonal. This year went longer. But oh, by the way, let's talk about this. Rates have fallen almost 100 basis points. Inventory fell 10,000. Active inventory fell 10,000 last week. So if we're going to talk about the whole picture, so at the end of the day, what I get annoyed by Crash Bros is essentially what this guy's accusing me of talking about one fact. I don't talk about one fact. I tell the whole story. And just because it doesn't feed your nonsense, that's not my problem. If you want to sit on the sideline and be a renter and stay broke, that's on you. The key to getting wealth is clear, owning assets. It is hard today. It is tough today, but it's not impossible. So you do you, I'll do me.
Well, speaking of assets, we'll take a quick break from all of the Crash Bro hate, though we do have a few more questions from these individuals. Speaking of assets, something you haven't commented on in a while is something that a lot of people are talking about as things get a little more uncertain, and that's crypto and Bitcoin. So from Ricky Romero, 8716, he says, Mike, haven't heard you talk and wanted to know what your thoughts are on Bitcoin. Do you consider it digital gold or digital real estate since there is a limited supply?
Again, I would be very clear. I took 1% of my net worth in, I want to be accurate. I want to guess it was 2019 and bought Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then 2 other altcoins that essentially have gone to zero. 90% of my money was either Bitcoin or Ethereum. I own more than a single coin of Bitcoin. So I'm whatever that's called. I bought them because I have some friends around me that are all in. And I'm like, I don't really get it. I trust these guys, but I don't get it. So I'm going to take 1% of my net worth. I'm going to buy these things in a week's time because I did a little, averaging over a 7 or 10 day period. And I haven't changed. I've kept them. They're an insurance policy for me. I'm up, I don't know, 100% or so from when I bought them. And it's just an insurance policy for me. I'm not adding, I'm not selling. I think if I were to pick between those two, they're digital gold to me. They're not really real estate. They don't cash flow. They don't do these things. Yeah, to me, they're an insurance policy. And this is what I think's coming, frankly, when the ETFs come out, is you're going to have guys like me that are worth, 7, 8, 9 figures going, you know what? I need to diversify. I need to change my risk profile. Let me take 1, 2, 3, 4% and buy some of that. If I lost 1% of my net worth today, it's going to be bubbly squat to me. But, sometimes insurance policies pay out. And if that 1% goes up, 1,000%, that wouldn't suck.
Well, then that would mean you 10x your net worth? That'd be pretty good.
That wouldn't be bad. That'd be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, not too bad of a deal right there. I can even do that math. Yeah, Bitcoin is very controversial. It's an interesting thing. I think the technology behind it's very sound. The blockchain technology is incredible. I think the idea that we'll need to move to a digital something makes a lot of sense as we move into an ever increasing digital world. Will it be Bitcoin or something else? Will governments step in and try to interfere or control or legislate? Possibly. All of that stuff's still being figured out. But I think what a lot of people get wrong with Bitcoin is they talk about the values and what causes values to go up and down. And, it should be tied to the reverse of the dollar. And it really hasn't been. It's really kind of followed more closely along with like the values of tech stocks and things like that. But I think the one thing that most people don't consider when it comes to Bitcoin and its value is the percentage of the population that's adopted it. If you actually look at how many people start downloading something like Coinbase or Binance, different exchanges, as the adoption and education and knowledge around cryptocurrencies go up, the value seems to go up. It seems to just go up, fall, but then hold constant. Go up, fall, hold constant. This is not an endorsement of investing in it. It's just saying that if you got a limited supply of anything and more people start to want to buy it, price probably will go up.
Yeah, to me, that's the network effect is what you're really highlighting there. And I agree. I mean, I took 1% of my net worth, which was not inconsequential, and put it on it.
Right. All right, let's hit another Crash Bro question, and this one is about how you were riddled with cognitive dissonance, Mike. So this is from Sean Dory, 2906. He says it's so weird that according to this guy, there won't be a crash, and yet there's going to be huge opportunities for first-time investors in the coming years. This is totally illogical. I think this guy doesn't want to crash because he doesn't want to give other Americans the opportunities that he had.
Wow. If you know anything about my story, one of the things that I only do is I try to get more and more people on the property ladder, jackass. One of the things that I am fearful of is rates crashing, prices exploding, and the wealth gap expanding, right? If I was talking my book, that's where I'd be hoping for. That's not what I'm hoping for. So that's completely wrong. He's just an angry person. But let's get to the real meat of the question. I think both of those statements are true, but he doesn't understand them. I think real estate can be divided into two camps, simply speaking, residential or commercial. Dividing it even more simply, fixed rate 30-year debt, 3, 5, 7, 10-year variable rate debt or adjustable rate debt. I believe, given the setup of 97% or whatever it is, fixed rate debt, an effective interest rate currently at 3.7%, 90% of people below 5%, yada, 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 it ain't coming to residential. I believe there will be tremendous opportunity in commercial. And commercial starts, if you don't know it, 5 units or more. I believe there will be opportunities to buy directly from banks. There are people doing strategic defaults. I just watched an amazing interview on Bloomberg about somebody they're doing jingle mail for apartment buildings, right? Here's an example. You buy an apartment building for $100 million in 2018. Let's say 2019, $100 million. At that time, you put $25 million down. You have a loan for $75 million. You fast forward 5 years, the term comes up. Guess what? Rates are higher, values are down. This is a real example. That building that was worth 100 is now worth 45 million. So at $45 million, your equity is gone. The bank is upside down 30 million, but it gets worse. If you want to keep that building, the bank's not going to loan you 45 million. They're going to loan you 70%. So you also have to come up with another 13. So you have to perform a cash in refi of like $50 million.
Ouch.
You're not doing that. You're going to give the building back because shit, the building's only worth 45. You let it go and buy it back for 45, you're ahead. So I think there's going to be tremendous opportunity in commercial. I think there will be great opportunity in luxury, right? Because that's off. And I think there'll be some towns that get hit with Airbnb regulation that will have some second home opportunities. But first-time home buyer homes in most of the country, there's just no supply and they're not building anymore. So I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what this guy's talking about.
You know, I think people just they try very hard to make what they think will help them the reality. And I understand the frustration. We're going to kind of wrap up with two more questions that key into this a little bit more. We're going to go over one more topic that I think is got a lot of people worried about getting started investors or getting started investing. This one comes from Ryan Vertucci, 7943. He says there is a massive crash in rental rates that has accelerated since August. Inventory and days on market for single family and multifamily rentals are extremely high. The rental crash is very real. It is happening as we speak, and it is nationwide. People are waiting to sell until interest rates go down, and they're trying to cash flow until then. The demand is not there. Mike, have you experienced this with rental rates coming down and it taking longer and longer to get properties rented?
So I have no idea what this guy's talking about. Again, like we talked about earlier, I think there's two markets for rentals. I think there's the multifamily stuff, like let's call it 20 units and above. And then there's single family homes. And single family homes, there's no problems. Rents are still going up. Demand is there. In fact, the sad reality is as prices and rates go up, I have more demand for homes. It's just because people can't buy and they'd rather live in a home than an apartment. So I don't know what they're talking about. I've seen no degradation in single family homes. Zip, zero. I talk to people across the country, and with a rare exception, flats like the worst I hear. That said, there are some real pain in multifamily, especially in the hot markets where there's a lot of inventory coming. And this goes back to my point about commercial real estate. I've talked about it for a year being a huge problem. You know, cap rates went too low, stupid assumptions, stupid expense and rent and all these things that I've highlighted, and it's coming to fruition. So yeah, there is real pain. There are people given 1-2 months free rent, you know, half off deposits, all that kind of stuff, but very much market specific and very, very much multifamily specific. So I don't know what this guy's talking about. If there is data out there talking about single family, it hasn't come across my radar.
Mm-hmm. So what I typically go to is called the Single Family Rental Index. It's done by CoreLogic. It's a report that they put out monthly that shows how much or how negative rent rate increases for single family homes are. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the most recent graph that we have data for, which is November. I'm going to put that on my Instagram, which is Millennial Mike. And I'll do a little analysis of it, and we can link it back to Zuber's channel. He'll probably repost it. And it shows that the Crash Bros are right. For 17 months in a row, the rate at which rents are increasing has declined. 17 months in a row, rental rate increases is declining. But what they fail to talk about is that during the pandemic, we had an unhealthy, uncharacteristically high growth in rental rates where it was going up 8-9%. And so it spiked way up and has been coming down for the last 17 months. But the normal range at which rents increase is 2%. So all it's done is fall back to 2%. It has not gone negative.
I want to say that a different way. We have had 17 months of declining rental rates that are still positive. How is that a crash?
Right.
Seriously, what the hell?
I'll post that graph on my Instagram so people can look at it if they want to. Millennial Mike on Instagram. Last question, Zuber. Bring it full circle back to what we kind of first talked about. This one's not a crash broke question. This one's just an overall sentiment that I'm seeing from reading multiple questions. It's an amalgam, and I worded it because I was trying to put a bunch of things in one. This is the elephant in the room. Your channel is about how to help people get started investing one rental at a time, but it starts with number one. You teach a skill, how to build a buy box and analyze a market to find average, good, and great deals. And then you encourage your listeners to only buy great deals. But the housing and rental market is so tough right now. Nothing seems to cash flow in most markets. And if it does cash flow, the yearly return is a pathetic 2 or 3%. Some of your followers have been looking for up to 12 months at this point, like you used to do, or like you did when you started, but with no results. It seems like what worked before is not working now. What should they do? And is there anything they should change?
Well, there's a couple of things in that. First and foremost, there's been several times in my journey where we did the work and didn't see the returns. So you're not alone. It happens. Um, I have said repeatedly that the last 12 months have been the hardest of my career. So I'm right there with you. I'm not changing. Um, Second or third, I want to remind people I spent the first year, 2002, learning my skill in the Bay Area. At some point, I had to step back and ask myself, do I really want to do this? It doesn't work here. Let me go to another market. That's a hard choice because the only place I'd ever lived for 50 years was the Bay Area. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have a network. I didn't have a rich uncle. I didn't. Um, so we ended up having to go 2.5 hours outside of our where we lived to find a market that made sense. And once we did, we were off to the races. Dion spent a year and a half trying to find his next deal. He didn't find it until he went 30 minutes outside his comfort area. So like if you can articulate with confidence what a good or great deal is in your market, and you've been doing this for more than 6 months, certainly a year, I think you have to step back and go, is there some place close to me that might offer better returns? Because like, in all honesty, this is why Olivia is so smart. I would have been happy, just given my broken nature, to keep beating my head against the wall in the Bay Area. I might have spent 2 or 3 years before I figured it out. There was no cash flow. She was like, nope, we're done, not doing this anymore. And we went somewhere else. So if you're in a high price market and it's tough, maybe it's time to look at a new market. But remember, just like I did in Fresno, the beauty of this is you're going to learn it so much faster. That's because the skill is market independent. So at the end of the day, it's always hard. It's just unique types of hard. You can also learn seller financing and like there's other things that you can do, but I understand. I've admitted it repeatedly. It is hard today. It's the hardest I've seen in 23 years.
When I first was interviewed by you 5 years ago, you gave me two pieces of advice at that time. I just closed on my first rental property, like I mentioned earlier. And you said, Mike, you need to network way more and you need to learn seller financing. It was true there in that market. It's true now in today's market. Those two things are something you're going to need to do no matter when you're investing in real estate, but especially right now. Mike, those were all the questions that I had. We do have some videos that Mike's going to react to. So for those of you out there, if you see a video online, Dave Ramsey or any other type of like investor that's giving some advice you have questions about, if you send it to me, I'll queue it up for Mike to do a reaction. That's what we're going to do in our next segment.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. It's so awesome that you go through and do this for us. So thank you so much.
Thank you.